Should be very fun. All right, Big Ten conference opener, Nebraska at Minnesota. That game's going to kick off at 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch it on Fox. Minnesota breaking in the Greek Rifle as their new quarterback, but we do have some experience at the skill positions, even though we lose a household name like Mo Ibrahim. Nebraska, a whole bunch of new, not just Matt Rhule on the sideline, Jeff Sims at the quarterback position, a couple other key transfers are going to be making up the Cornhuskers' effort to win one-score games, or hopefully win them by more than one score after what has been a devastating trend for Nebraska from the Scott Frost era. Tom, what are the big storylines and matchups we should have our eyes on with this one?
The Greek Rifle is a big deal, I think, because, I mean, Tanner Morgan was Tanner Morgan, but Kaliakmanis is somebody, and we've talked about it on this show. I know that coaching staff is high on him long-term. I am not high on him in the short term, so I have some serious questions about that Minnesota offense and how explosive or two-dimensional it can be. I still think we're going to see a team that's, running the ball more often than anything short of a service academy with him back there. Nebraska defensively, it's hard to say what to expect from the Cornhuskers because new coaching staff, a very different looking roster, a lot of new players in key spots. How much of it last year was culture? How much of it was talent and roster? We're going to get our first actual glimpse into what has changed with the Cornhuskers this year. I don't have any real solid feel for what to expect in that game, other than I do think Minnesota wins. And kind of like Florida, Utah, I do think it's going to be pretty low scoring.
Yes.
I think it could be. So Matt Rhule has a history of basically just punting year one. Not seeming to care. He did address this in the press conference, not seeming not to care, but prioritizing establishing his culture over winning in year one. But I do think it's a little bit different. I think they're certainly going to try.
This scenario.
This is completely different situation.
So different than Baylor or even Temple.
So, I mean, when it comes to this game, does Minnesota have casinos? I know they have bars, but do they have casinos? Because if they don't have casinos, you already have a leg up on what you had last year, right? In Ireland, let's reduce the distractions. Let's make sure bed check for players and coaches is achieved and hit those bed check goals. So, I think Nebraska, may have a chance here. Coaches in the ACC thought Jeff Sims was pretty good, better than his numbers suggested. Rhule has a real history of running the quarterbacks. They can probably piece together enough. But I'm interested in Minnesota, man. Ryan Burns told us that Kaliakmanis has some real juice to him, and maybe that's more of a 24 thing. But what if he arrives a year early? I don't know. I think he's definitely has a lot better talent than Tanner Morgan did. And Minnesota went out and they upgraded a little bit in the transfer portal at receiver. They got the Crooms kid from Western. They got Elijah Spencer from
Charlotte.
Charlotte, excuse me. Yeah, they may have some juice to them. I don't think this is going to shoot out, but Minnesota's defense is definitely not as good as it was last year, given what they lost. Nebraska's defense is probably not any good at all.
Well, I mean, we're supposed to have Spanford and Altman Bell both healthy, right? When's the last time that we've had both of those players available, active, ready to go, rolling at the same time? I mean, we're not going to flash all the way back to a Rashad Bateman, Tyler Johnson kind of situation. But if Kaliakmanis is there and is ready to go, isn't he kind of just almost a throwback? I mean, he's not a mobile guy. He's 6'4", 220.
He can win from the pocket a little bit, but I think he can run some.
Yeah,
he's got them real long legs. He's a long strider.
It's more of a gallop as he's able to go and get you what you're going to be able to get. Danny, what are you looking at here?
I'm excited to see Jeff Sims with the opportunity he's got here playing. What does he have better talent in Nebraska than he did at Georgia Tech when he was there? He probably a little bit of an upgrade, I think.
I think this year
yeah. So I'm always excited because felt like he was one of those young quarterbacks. I mean, remember his freshman year he beat Florida State. It was kind of like, oh, this kid's gonna be a star. And then he got some bad habits trying to win too many games because you're playing from behind. But he's pretty athletic. He's got really good, a really good skill set. This will be interesting too because I wonder, if Nebraska wins this game, oh my goodness, the Matt Rhule, Nebraska's back is going to be off the charts. And then for BJ Fleck in Minnesota, some of the offseason stuff with the culture, does that crop up again? Does he start taking more criticism? So, and if Minnesota wins, it's like, oh yeah, you were supposed to. Nebraska's in a rebuild year. So I think it's be an interesting game. I kind of don't know what to expect from Nebraska. And I think I know what I'll get from Minnesota. I just wonder if Nebraska can have some success stopping them.
Yeah, the one thing that really I think is the deciding factor here is, but I know you mentioned that you think there'll be a drop off, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is a slight drop off. But I do think of the 4 units, not including special teams, the one I am most confident in going into this matchup is the Minnesota defense, just because I think Joe Rossi has done a very good job on that side of the ball. So that to me gives the Gophers the edge in this game, because I still don't know what we're going to get from the Nebraska defense. I don't know how explosive the Nebraska offense is going to be, and I've gone over all my concerns about the Minnesota offense. So I think if nothing else, that keeps Minnesota in the game. It probably proves to be the deciding factor.
I mean, Minnesota last year was like a top 6 or 7 opponent adjusted defense. Like that, they could drop to like 15th or 20th in terms of like adjusting for opponent defense and still be by far the best unit on the field. But what they did last year was pretty special and kind of went under the radar. So
Illinois' defense kind of overshadowed them last year.
Right,
they
exactly.
Were really good too.
Of course.
I love the deadpan.
No, I'm being dead serious. Illinois' defense got so much attention because it came out of nowhere that people weren't really paying attention that Minnesota's defense was really good too.
Yeah.
Also on Thursday, go ahead.
Can we just real quick, because I saw a couple people put it in there about Arik Gilbert. I feel like kind of the same way, because they're excited about him playing tight end for Nebraska. I feel like the same conversation needs to be had that I have with Georgia fans who are excited about him. Like, is there a more unreliable player in the country, considering, historically? And I hope he's got things figured out, and I hope he plays and meets his potential. But my goodness, has he been a player that's had massive expectations everywhere he's been and has not even played much, as of late.
Did he get a waiver?
Well, that's what I was wondering too. I was going to ask you, because
yeah.
I know that was like a last minute. They were waiting to hear on it, weren't they?
I haven't seen anything on his waiver. I think as a former 5-star, if he got it, I think we would
the other
see
day. Still awaits 3 days ago. That was the headline I saw. Still waiting on eligibility.